Hello, welcome to Witchcraft, Truth versus Fiction. Filmed right here in Salem, Massachusetts, the Witch City. My name is Paul Burns and I'm going to be your host. On this show we will be giving you some information on traditional witchcraft and interviews with other witches in and around the area. So for this episode I'm going to give you a little basic class on what traditional witchcraft is all about. I am a witch. I was trained and initiated into a branch of witchcraft called the Alexandrian tradition. I'll be speaking a little bit more about traditions later on. The word witch is derived from the Old English word wiki or wicca, meaning to bend or to shape. The word Wicca was reintroduced by Gerald Gardner, a little about him later too. Now it is commonly called witchcraft, the craft, the old religion, or just simply witch and witchcraft. It's called the old religion because it predates Christianity. Recently, I've been reading the phrase, witchcraft is a practice, Wicca is a religion. However, in my tradition and the way I was taught, it is both. So therefore, I'll be using the two terms interchangeably. Within the religion of Wicca, we see divinity as a dual force, female through the goddess and male through the god. The goddess is seen through the moon, within nature as the earth mother. The god is seen through the sun and the living beings of the earth. Their names are numerous. Some even predate language itself. They go back to Greek, Roman, and Celtic names, just to name a few. Oftentimes, the Wiccan god is shown with horns. Horns are a symbol of power. They are not a symbol of evil. They also show his connection to the animals of the earth and all the other living beings. We acknowledge the cycles of nature, the lunar phases and the seasons to celebrate our spirituality and to worship the divine. It is a belief system that allows the witch to work with our deities with the intent of living in harmony and achieving balance with all living things. Being a witch is a way of life, it's an attitude and a level of awareness. Being a witch means you seek a path of wisdom and that you value and pay attention to the magic and miracles of every single day. We respect both the seen and the unseen worlds, the common and the undiscovered. We strive to be in touch with the magic that is already around us and to develop the skills to bend and to shape and make things happen. We do not just talk the talk, we walk the walk. Set up here is a basic Wiccan altar with the most commonly used working tools of the witch. The first is the athame. Now, my tradition, this is considered a very traditional athame. It has a black handle and a double-edged blade. This is the symbol of the will of the witch. It is used to cast a circle. Now, a circle is cast around your ritual area where you set up a boundary and a sacred space to focus the energy and the work that you're going to be doing. This is also used to summon the elemental spirits and to dismiss them at the end of your ceremony. This is the most used tool of the witch. It represents either the element of air or fire, depending on tradition. The second tool is the sword. This is generally an extension of the athame and is used in a similar manner, especially casting the circle. In my tradition, it is also a symbol of being in the second degree. The next one is the pentacle, also called a paten, P-A-T-E-N. This represents the element of earth and is sometimes used for protection and for prosperity rituals. The wand. In my tradition, this is attributed to the element of air, although again, in some traditions, the element of fire. It is also used to summon spirits and angels. The cup or chalice represents the element of water and is used for wine, ale, juice, or water that is shared with the coven. It's also used in some magic as well. The Book of Shadows, as it says. The Book of Shadows contains the ceremonies, spells, and rules for the coven that is handed down within the tradition. You can also keep a personal one with your own personal magical diary, dream journals, and so on. Typically, it is hand-copied after initiation. The broom. Big misconception that witches fly on them. Now, I've heard a story that in the old days, farmers who were pagan or witches would go out into the fields. They'd tie tufts of herbs and plants to a tree limb, take it out to the fields, straddle them, and jump. And the higher they jumped, the higher the crops would grow. Some people saw that and misconstrued that they actually flew to the Sabbath. Not true. The broom is used to clear the circle and space of negative energies, and in Wiccan weddings and in some other cultures, the married couple jump the broom to bless their wedding. Here we have the white-handled knife, and this is used for general inscribing of candles, cutting of cords, things like that, things that we do not use the athame for. Tools of divination are sometimes found on a witch's altar, such as tarot cards, scrying mirrors, or crystal balls. Black mirror is my particular favorite. The altar can also be personalized with goddess and god statues, crystals and stones, sometimes photographs of family or elders. It can be personalized to however you feel it makes you feel your magic most powerful. You may also have the materials out for a specific working or a spell. Again, the uses and purposes of the working tools vary a little bit according to tradition. So let me talk about that. There are many traditions of witchcraft, probably as many as there are denominations of Christianity. I have a little show and tell now. This is Gerald Gardner. He's the founder of Gardnerian witchcraft. Gerald Gardner was a retired British civil servant, and he's considered the grandfather of modern-day Wicca, or witchcraft. He was initiated into a coven of witches in the New Forest region of England in 1939 by a high priestess named Old Dorothy Clutterbuck. And that was not her real name. In 1949, he wrote a novel called High Magic's Aid about medieval witchcraft, in which quite a bit of the craft, as practiced by his coven, was used. In 1951, the last of the English laws against witchcraft were repealed, and Gardner published the book called Witchcraft Today, which set forth a version of the rituals and tradition of his coven. The Alexandrian tradition of witchcraft was founded by Alexander and his wife Maxine. The name of the tradition is a reference both to Alexander's and to the ancient occult library of Alexandria, which was one of the first libraries in the world. The choice of the name was inspired by a view of the library as an early attempt to bring together the knowledge and wisdom of the world into one place. Alexandrian Wicca uses essentially the same tools and rituals as Gardnerian Wicca, though in some cases the tools are used differently, and the rituals have been adapted with more ceremonial magic overtones. The Cabot tradition of witchcraft. Founded by Salem's own Laurie Cabot, a witch and high priestess, she was one of the first people to popularize witchcraft in the United States. She continues to reside in Salem, where she owns a shop called The Cat, The Crow, and The Crown, down on Pickering Wharf. The Cabot tradition is a modern-day teaching and mystical tradition that traces its roots back to the witches of Kent in England. The Cabot tradition focuses extensively on the science of the craft, witchcraft as a science, an art form, and a religion, as well as a way of life. She has a website, www.lauriecabot.com. Credit has to be given to her for making Salem such a witch and pagan-friendly that it is today. Those three traditions are the largest in this area. Now, there are several others as well. We will go into those later on, I hope, and have other guests from different traditions to speak about them. There are also hereditary witches, those who are raised as witches within a family tradition. There are also those who call themselves eclectic witches, those who prefer to practice outside of a particular tradition. And those who are called solitary witches, who just prefer to work alone. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about the witches' holidays, also known as the Wheel of the Year. This represents the entire Wheel of the Year. The witches' holidays are called Sabbats. There are 8 of them which make up what we call the Wheel of the Year. The wheel celebrates the cycles of nature, and the wheel is always turning. The first one, Samhain. That is how it's pronounced. It's not called Samhain, which a lot of people mistakenly say it. Samhain is October 31st, also known as Halloween or All Hallows Eve. This is the turning point of the wheel, the Celtic New Year. The veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, so this is the best time to communicate with the dead. This is why it's also known as Ancestor Night. The next one is Yule, or the winter solstice. This is around December 21st. This marks the shortest day and the longest night of the year. The nights, however, begin to grow lighter as the sun returns. Yule is a time of rebirth, not only the rebirth of the sun, but also rebirth of ambitions and plans for the future. After that comes Imbolc, or Candlemas, which is February 2nd. This is a celebration of winter coming to an end, and the coming of, hopefully, early spring. The light of the sun is growing, and it is bringing fresh new opportunities. We celebrate Imbolc as a festival of new light and new life. Ostara, the spring equinox, 21st of March. Winter is finally over, we hope. Flowers are in bloom, and it is a good time to plant new seeds. This is the time of year where both day and night are equal. Energy and fertility of the land are important, and this is the time to think towards summer. Customary, rabbits have always been a sign of the coming of spring. That's where the Easter Bunny comes from. Beltane, May Day, May 1st. This is one of the happiest times of the year, a time to celebrate humanity and human fertility. Flowers are blooming everywhere, trees are abundant in leaves and sometimes blossoms, and the sun shines brightly. Dancing around a maypole is customary at this time. The next one is Litha, or Midsummer. This is June 21st. This marks the longest day and the shortest night of the year. We celebrate the sun at his most strongest and most powerful. Beauty is everywhere, in flowers, fields, and fruit trees. It is a time of change, a time to alter your focus and change direction to concentrate on new things. Lammas or Lunasa. This is August 1st. This represents the first harvest. Signs of autumn are now appearing as the days start to get shorter. It is a time to contemplate your life and realize that everyone has to make sacrifices, be it for friends, family, or for yourself. Mabon, or the autumn equinox. This is the grand harvest, the witch's Thanksgiving. Day and night are equal, but there is a need to look towards the darkness. Summer is now gone, and it is time to take stock of the harvest and of your life before the onset of winter. This completes the wheel of the year. I have some notes about what witchcraft is and what it is not. Witchcraft is, that I just want to bring out here. Witchcraft is a neo-pagan religion affirming divinity in all living things. Witchcraft is a nature-based belief system as we see the divine in the moon, the stars, the sun, and the earth. Our worship and practices evolve around the cycles of nature. We also revere the spirits of the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, which combine to manifest all creation. We use our magic for healing and for positive works. Training to be a witch takes study, practice, and discipline. What witchcraft is not. Witchcraft is not Satanism. Satan or the devil is a Christian concept, and Wicca predates Christianity. There is no devil to whom we worship or give service to. Wicca is not a cult. We respect and honor our teachers and elders of the craft. However, there is no ultimate leader that we are forced to obey or bow down to. We do not practice any form of sacrifice, animal, human, or otherwise. We do not use magic to harm or influence others. As the Wiccan Rede states, and at harm none, do what you will. Deliberately causing harm to people only comes back to the sender. Witchcraft is not a fashion statement. Many witches look like everyday people. Some are involved in goth culture, others very earthy. We come from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all races, all economic backgrounds. Dressing up can be fun, but putting on a pointy hat and cape does not make one a witch. It takes training and years of practice. So you've been shopping around Salem, and you find a stone or a piece of jewelry or something. One of the first things you should do when you bring it home is cleanse it of negative energies. So I'm going to cleanse this ring as an example. Now we can't have fire or smoke here, so we're going to pretend. We'll visualize. We'll pretend these candles are actually working. What you're going to do is take your object, and you're going to bless it with the 4 elements. In your home, you should have a space. If you have an altar or just a space in your home where you want to set aside for sacred space, a place that's just a little special. Set up a candle, light some incense, get some salt and water. What you might want to do with the salt and water, visualize white light on it. We'll start with the salt. You might even want to say something. If a particular God name or deity comes to mind, you may use that. You may just simply say, I cleanse this salt of all negative energies and entities and influence. And just see the white light in there. And do the same with the water. I cleanse and charge thee. I cleanse this water of all negative energies. So mote it be. And take 3 pinches. Mix it up a little bit. And take your jewelry, stone, or whatever, and wash it in the water. Feel it being cleansed. Visualize the white light on it. Pass it through your incense. And carefully over a candle flame. And if you have a pentacle, you can place it on there for a few minutes. And then visualize white light on it and that it is cleansed and ready to use. And that's a good way. And your item's ready for wear. I also have some suggested reading material. And if you have more questions about traditional witchcraft, I'm giving my email address at the end of the show. Let me show you some books. Aradia, The Gospel of the Witches, one of the old, it was written in the 1800s. Most versions have both Italian and English translation. Highly recommended book. For the Wheel of the Year and more about the witches' holidays, Laurie Cabot's Celebrate the Earth. It's a wonderful book. Also, Laurie Cabot's Power of the Witch. I don't have it with me today. That is a great book on an introductory to witchcraft. This is a great deal. It's The Witch's Bible by Janet and Stuart Farrer. It actually combines two of their books, so you get 2 for 1. Their book, 8 Sabbaths for Witches and What Witches Do. They're both combined in this one book. And this is a good source for Alexandrian and Gardnerian witchcraft. A Voice in the Forest, written by Jamal Di Fiosa. A lot about Alexander's after his death. Firechild by Maxine Sanders, Alex's wife. It just came out a few years ago. It's an excellent book. Also, Raymond Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft. I don't have that today. I think that's out with a student. Thank you for watching. And as we say in the craft, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you.